So I just ran my fastest marathon ever. Now I've only ran 2 marathons, so that's not saying much, but for me it's a big deal. And I wanted to come on here to share my experience, not just for you guys, but also for my future self, so I can look back at this and kind of remember what the experience was like. But I had ran my first marathon, I think it was October 1st of 2024, about 8 or 9 months ago. It was in Long Beach. My goal was to run a sub 4-hour marathon, and I ran a 3:57, so just barely got it. I didn't have the best training block before that race. I got like the sickest I'd ever been in my life. I traveled to Japan. I went to Burning Man. I did like a 20-mile long run or 22-mile long run and literally couldn't walk the last like mile. It was very, very tough. So I didn't even know if I was gonna be able to do that first marathon. And luckily I ended up not only completing it, but completed it in my goal time as well. And at the end of the race, I was hurting. I was down bad. And I had signed up for a marathon because I just wanted to do at least one marathon in my life to say that I did one. And I didn't really have any plans to do another one. But as soon as I finished that marathon, as great as the feeling was for like 5 minutes, right after those 5 minutes, I was like, I can run faster. So I was in a lot of pain, didn't end up signing up right away, but 2 or 3 months later, ended up signing up for the San Diego Marathon, which was June 1st. So I signed up for that, I think in like December or January, and started putting out very early on, very publicly, that I was gonna run a sub 3:30 marathon. So 30 minutes quicker than my last marathon, which is basically a full minute per mile quicker. So I was averaging like a 9-minute mile my first marathon. The second marathon would have to be an 8-minute mile. And I was gonna take this training block, more seriously. And for the most part, I did. The reason I say for the most part is because I ran into some injury issues. I had some issues with shin splints. So like in February, I ended up taking like 2 weeks off. And when I came back into running, it was pretty good, didn't hurt that bad. And then like a month or a month and a half later, started hurting really bad to the point where I would just be sitting down like at my desk and my leg would just be throbbing. And I had a friend who, he had qualified for Boston, was training for the Boston Marathon, and he had the exact same symptoms as me for shin splints. And he ended up actually fracturing his shin, and he had to take 4 weeks off of running. He couldn't go run Boston, and I kind of freaked me out. I'm like, dude, maybe I fractured my shin. Maybe I'm not gonna be able to run this race. Like, I was really concerned. So I went and saw a doctor, shout out Nate Jeffries. He examined my leg, determined that I didn't actually fracture my shin. It was just shin splints, gave me some stretches, some strength training exercises, and gave me the confidence that, hey, you're gonna be able to go run the marathon. You'll be good. So I took, I think, 10 days or 2 weeks off and then eased my way back into running. And leading up to the race, my longest run was a 20-mile run. And it was just a flat run because the hills really hurt my shin splints. And that 20-mile run, I did an 8:08 pace, which was good. But for the marathon, I was gonna have to run not only faster than that, but also be doing hills. And at the end of that 20-mile run, I was pretty done. So that didn't give me a whole lot of confidence, but luckily the week after that, I think it was the week or maybe 2 weeks after that, I had in my training schedule a 13-mile run, a half marathon. And it just so happened to line up perfectly with the La Jolla half marathon. So I signed up for that half marathon, and that half marathon is very hilly, more hilly than the San Diego Marathon. And I ended up PRing that run. I ran a 7:45 average mile, which was a 1:40 something. And that actually gave me a lot of confidence about the San Diego Marathon because I was like, well, I can run 15 seconds per mile slower, and that had more hills. The only issue is I was pretty tired after the end of that half marathon. So honestly, going into this marathon, I wasn't the most confident. Realistically, in my head, I was thinking I was gonna end up around 3:35, just because I was not prepared for the hills. And it was stressing me because I had put out publicly so much that I was gonna go run a sub 3:30 marathon. I was posting YouTube videos about it. I was talking about it on my Instagram. Like, I just kept on saying it, and I'm a man of my word. I like to do what I say. And it was really, really stressing me out. Luckily, I had a couple friends fly into town that were also running the marathon. And so that kind of helped take my mind off the whole marathon and the time and everything, because I was just shooting the shit with my friends, guys being dudes, having fun. And, you know, that was the taper week. Like, I didn't really go on. I went on 2 runs. I went on 1 quick run with my friend, which was actually good to get my legs under me. But other than that, I was like, I can't really do anything at this point. I just got to show up and run the best race I can run. And at that point, it's in God's hands. Like, I'll just let whatever happens, happens. So race day comes. I wake up at 4 a.m. I slept like shit. I purposely did not sleep with my watch because I was like, if I have a bad sleep score, it's just going to get in my head. And if I have a good sleep score, it's not really going to help me out a whole lot. So I didn't sleep with my watch. I have no idea how I slept. I just could tell when I woke. I was waking up multiple times throughout the night, just nervous, having nightmares, and woke up with like a super sore throat. It was very, very scratchy. And I was like, all right, this is not what I was hoping for waking up, but I can't really do anything about it. Today's race day. You got to show up. Doesn't really matter. So me and my friend were just getting ready, eating our toast, like getting everything good to go between the goos, the bibs, and we were just shooting the shit. Again, it was like a nice distraction to not think so much about the race. And woke up, went to the bathroom. I'm like, okay, good. Got the shit out. That's like the biggest concern running a marathon. You just got to make sure you wake up and poop. So that happened. And I'm calling the Uber, and it's really far. It's not getting closer. And I'm like, dude, we might have to walk to the starting line. Like, this Uber's taking forever. If we wait for it, we probably are going to miss the start. So he's like, let's get a walk on. It was only like 1.5 miles away from my apartment. So we ended up walking, which we were trying to convince ourselves it was a good idea because we needed to warm up and just get our blood flowing, get our legs loose. It wasn't a very hot day at first. It was like overcast, but it was very humid. So by the time I got to the starting line, I was already sweating just from walking, which is not you don't want that before a marathon because you're already going to be losing electrolytes, your heart rate's going to be up. And to make matters worse, as I'm walking up, I look over at my buddy Mitch. I'm like, dude, not only do I have to take a shit, I also have to piss too. Like, and then the porta potty lines are super long. I'm like, dude, this is bad. Like, this isn't happening. Like, I'm just gonna have to hold it, I guess. So he ended up, I think he ran to the bushes or something to go pee. I was more concerned with getting to the start of the corral because the gun was gonna go off soon. I think we had like 5 minutes to spare from when we arrived to getting all the way to the front. And like, all right, well, hopefully I sweat out my piss, and I think I can hold on to my shit for as long as I can. So before the gun even goes off, again, I'm sweating. My heart rate's already elevated. I'm just trying to calm myself down. I'm like, all right, I said I'm going to go run at 3:30. We got to make this happen. They say that sing the national anthem, gun goes off, and we're ready to rock. My first 2 miles were 2 of the fastest miles that I ran the entire marathon, which if you know anything about running marathons, it's not the way that you want to go. You want to do negative splits, which ultimately means like every single mile gets faster. So my first 2 miles were like 7:30s, and my heart rate started at 155, then went to 165 and 168 by mile 3. So it's not ideal at all. And I was trying to not look at my watch too much because I knew my heart rate was high, and you start out with a lot of rolling hills. So just going up the hills obviously is going to amplify your heart rate. And I was trying to not get too into my head because the first like 5 miles, generally it should go by pretty quick. You kind of get into a flow state and you're like, oh, we're already 5 miles, 8 miles in. When I saw mile marker 5, I was like, how the hell are we only 5 miles in? We should be at least like 9 or 10 right now. And that's because I was pushing my body so hard. So I was already in my head at that point, but I knew time-wise, I was running good because I was running like 7:30s at the beginning of the race. And the beginning of the race is also really cool because you're running through the neighborhoods of San Diego and everybody's outside their house. They have tables set up with beer, with oranges and whiskey and bananas and donut holes. And there's bands like every single mile. Literally like the whole city comes out to support the marathon. It's a really, really cool environment, lots of energy. And that really helps. Like having everybody out there cheering you on. There's something to be said about the adrenaline rush that you get from that. So flash forward, we're coming up on like mile 10, and even before that, I guess, like every single water station we passed by, there was pretty much porta potties, and I thought about stopping to pee every single time because I really had to pee. And I just kept telling myself, I'm like, if I pee right now, that might be the difference of me hitting sub 330 and me not hitting sub 330, because it takes about at least 30 seconds, probably a minute to go pee. And I was like, I just can't risk it. I got to keep on running. So I just kept on thinking about it every single mile. I went past the water stations. I was drinking water every single station too, because I needed to stay hydrated. So it wasn't really a good combo. But then like mile 10, my shoe or my right foot starts hurting really bad because I tied my right shoe too tight. And I'm like, I need to do something about this because I'm only 9-10 miles in. I still got 16 miles left. I'm not gonna be able to feel my right foot if I don't adjust anything. So I pulled off to the side of the road, retied my shoe real quick, started running again. About half a mile in, I realized I tied it even tighter, or like not tighter. I still tied it too tight. So pull over again and tie it, and I just tie it. I'm like, I can't have it be too tight again, so I tied it purposely looser. That was right before a giant downhill section. So the entire time I was running downhill, my right toe on my shoe just kept on hitting the very front. It was not very pleasant. And at the time I passed a barefoot runner. And I'm like, this guy's a genius. He's not even experiencing this issue that I have with me tying my shoe too tight or too loose, or it ramming into the front of my shoe. Like, this guy, he's just got a bunch of blisters on the bottom of his foot. This guy's way smarter than me. And I think right before that as well, I saw my family. My mom, my dad, and my brother were there. They had signs. That was really good. It's always a good boost seeing your family and seeing like your support system there. So that was really nice, just to like have that and have that feeling come over you. It's hard to describe that feeling when you're like deep into a race and you see people that like love and support you and are just like, they woke up to come watch you run. It's kind of emotional. So nonetheless, keep on going, keep on running. Once you get past mile like 11, there's not as many people because you're out of the neighborhood and you're just running like along the highway basically. And there's like probably a 5-mile stretch there where there's basically nobody. It's just you and other runners. And I slowed down during that and I took a video. That was the only video I took the entire marathon. And I think it was like mile 13. And I'm like, this is where I'm really starting to feel it. It's all going to be mental at this point. Like physically, my body is like feeling it. I just have to tap into a different place mentally. And this is, I was listening to a David Goggins podcast, and he was just telling his story. I had heard it before, but I just knew I needed to like have a different mentality when I was in that race. And I'm really glad that I was listening to that because it just helped me go to a different place mentally and go somewhere that I've never been before. Because halfway through the race, I was already feeling it. And at this point, I was still, so that was 7:37, 7:46 miles, 7:39 mile. That was before I started to slow down. Basically mile 16 through mile 24. That's when I started running 8 minute plus miles. And as the day's going on, it's getting hotter, it's warming up, I'm sweating more. Eventually, I think like mile 19, I take off my shirt. My shirt weighs like 5 pounds. It's just soaked with sweat. And I'm eating the goos. They taste terrible at this point. Like my mouth is so dry. I feel like they didn't have enough water stations at the course. And that's probably just because I was pushing myself so hard that I needed more water than I normally need. Because they did like water every 2 miles and I wanted it every single mile. That's how thirsty I was. And towards the very end of the race, I think it's mile 22, you run onto the freeway and up a giant hill that lasts like over a mile. It sucks. And I just remember coming around because there's like a big circular on-ramp. Before you even get on that, you have to run up the bridge. And that was very, very tough. I was like, dude, I said a prayer to God. I was like, dude, God, please just allow me to not pass out up this hill. Like, I don't even care what time I get, just help me not pass out, help me stay healthy. That's how down bad I was. At that point, I was already, when I got to the water stations, I was walking to drink the water. One, because I wanted to make sure that I got enough, and two, I wanted to like not choke, basically. Sometimes when you're drinking and running, you can like swallow too much air and then you have to burp, and it's just not good. So for the last couple of water stations, I was walking while drinking, and then I'd take off again running. And the entire race, I was ahead of the 3:30 pacer. So they have a pacer that runs with a sign based off of whatever. So it could be 4-hour pacer, 3:30 pacer, 3-hour pacer. And as long as you stay with that person, you'll finish in that time. And so the entire race, because I was running 7:30 splits, I was ahead of the 3:30 pacer, who's running an 8-minute split. And as soon as we got about a quarter way up the hill, that 3:30 pacer came up to me. And I was like, shoot, this is not good. Because I was slowing down. I'm like, if I don't keep up with him, I'm not going to hit a 3:30. And at first, it like worried me a lot. I didn't think it was a good thing that he was there. But it ended up being the best possible thing for me, because having him there along with the other group of runners that was with him allowed me just to stay on pace with him. And I was just like not focused on anything other than staying right behind him and charging up the hill. And he was giving advice. He was saying, lean forward, keep your arms relaxed, like catch your breath, deep breaths, like we're almost there, keep going, don't stop. And having someone like that right there next to you, along with a group of other people, that helped me a ton, because I kept up with them, I kept my pace. And at the very top of the hill, you finally can get some water. And then once you reach the top, you get a downhill. So it's not a crazy downhill, but enough that you can kind of pick up pace. And you're like homebound now. Pretty much the toughest part of the race is over with. And at this point, I'm like, okay, I'm right with the 3:30 pacer. It's going to be close. So on the downhill, I try to pick up some pace and get ahead of him. And towards the very end, on the last mile, he comes up right next to me. And I'm like, dude, this is not good, because I'm giving it everything that I have. And I can't really run that fast, because I forgot to mention this, but as I started going up that hill, my hamstrings started cramping on my left leg. My hamstrings started cramping. I'm like, this is not good. Just don't make it worse so that I can't run. And luckily I was able to continue running up that hill. But then once I got to the last mile, I couldn't really run much faster because my legs wouldn't stretch that much. And I was kind of worried about eating it. But he came up right next to me, and I look over at him and I look at my watch, and I'm like, dude, like you have to be early. There's no way you're pacing right now. And he's like, I am early. You have like an extra 2 minutes. And I'm like, okay. I don't think he was right, or his watch was wrong, because the entire race, my watch was 0.2 miles early. So I'd say, let's say 10 miles, when in reality on the race course, I had to run another 0.2 miles to get to the 10-mile marker. So I don't know if the race course was messed up or what happened, but either way, that's still not 2 minutes worth of time on the, I guess it could be, but nonetheless, I knew it was going to be close. And so at the end, I'm running as fast as I can physically at that time, which wasn't very fast. I think my mile time at the end was an 8-minute mile, or 7:39 mile. And it's coming down to the wire. It's going to be close. I know that I pretty much have it. I just don't know how close it's going to be. And then I like see my parents, see my brother. My brother's running up with me towards the finish, and get past the finish line, clock my watch, look down, and my watch said 3:29:51. And I was like, no way, I just barely got it. I thought I was 9 seconds away. Turns out officially I ran at 3:29:28, but then also for my watch, I ran 26.5 miles. So I think my Strava had me at like a 3:27 or something. Doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, I ran a sub 3:30 marathon. It took everything that I had in me. And it's an incredible feeling to publicly state a goal, privately state a goal, and go out and achieve it. And not just any goal, but a goal you know is going to stretch you, a goal that you don't even know if you're going to be capable of doing. It's not like I was fully confident that I was going into that race and it was going to happen. I was pretty scared. I was pretty nervous. And after the race, like my body started to like shut down. Like I couldn't really stand up. I was still breathing really heavy, like long after the race was gone. Like 20 minutes after the race was done, I was still breathing. I couldn't really stand up. I didn't really want to like eat anything. All I wanted was cold water. Like the first water I got after the race, I just poured onto my head because I was overheating. And then my brother ended up getting me a cold coconut water, which was like the best thing ever. And then saw my friends. My friend that stayed with me, he ran like a 3:12 marathon. He was cooking. And then I had a couple other friends they both ran their first marathon. One of them actually ended up passing out at 26.1 miles. And they ended up taking him to the hospital, giving him an IV. And he was pissed because technically he didn't finish, even though he was right there. And most importantly, the reason he was pissed is because he didn't get a medal. He paid $180 or whatever it is for the race and didn't get a medal. And literally after he passed out, he told the guys, like, get me up. Like, I need to finish this race. And they're like, no, we're not letting you finish. And they ended up taking him away. But all in all, it was an incredible experience. Definitely a day I will never forget. And I was like, I'm not going to sign up for another race for a while. And then 2 days later, I signed up for the Hawaii Marathon, the Honolulu Marathon in December. That one, I'm not going to go try and break any PRs or anything. I'm just going to go run for fun. And then today, I just signed up for a 50-mile ultra marathon in September. So I guess it wasn't painful enough for me to not want to sign up for another race, but I signed up for 2 other races. So I'll have done technically 3 marathons this year, with one of those being an ultra. Still got to do it. Hasn't happened yet. But with that, I want to go into some thoughts I had on the actual race itself. One of them I just kind of talked about. Towards the end, when the time was looking good. I think I was averaging like a 7:50 mile. I was like, all right, this is good. I'm going to hit 3:30. And then I remember telling myself, don't count your chickens before they hatch, because this was before the big hill. There was still like 5 miles left. And I was like, dude, anything could happen. The race really starts at like mile 22. That's when everything that is important needs to happen. So don't count your chickens before they hatch. Celebrate after you cross the finish line, after the work's been done, because you never know what's going to happen. Other thoughts that I had: you cannot measure nor replicate the effect of adrenaline and a collective effort. That's the thing. Like if I went and tried to go run that same course, the 26 miles by myself, I can pretty much guarantee I wouldn't have done a sub 3:30. One, obviously they have the water stations, but aside from that, even if I did have the water stations there, just having everybody there that's cheering me on, the adrenaline that I have knowing that this is the race that counts, the bands that are playing, the city, the energy, like there is a collective effort of everybody else that's running with me that you cannot measure nor replicate. And so that is really, really special. And that's one of the reasons that I love marathons, is just having all of the people that had been training for months, mostly by themselves, come out to run a race with, thousands of other people. The second was, a goal will determine your effort level. So my goal for the marathon was a sub 3:30, and my entire training block was based off of that. Now, had I had a goal of running a sub 3:20, my effort level probably would have been different, right? I can guarantee it would have been different, and my effort at the marathon would have been different as well. And so the reason I think that's important to understand is because where you have your goal set is going to determine not only your trajectory, but again, how hard you actually try. And so it's important to have goals that really stretch you, that are going to push you to be your absolute best. Because if you're not setting big goals, you're just not going to be pushing yourself to your full ability. So make sure you're pushing or setting big goals. The other was that everybody has a different max. So I ran the marathon in what was my PR, which is a 3:30. The winner ran, I think, a 2:26. So he ran an hour faster than me. And there were people that ran an hour slower than me. Yet everybody was giving their best effort. And that is something that you have to respect. Everybody is running their own race. And it is so incredibly cool to see that. And there's no ego at a marathon. Like anybody that finishes a marathon, it is a congratulations to them. Even if they don't hit their goal, like you're incredibly proud of what they just accomplished. Obviously, when somebody hits their goal, it's even better, but showing up and giving your max effort is what it's all about. And, for the most part, everybody gives their max effort at a marathon, which is a beautiful thing. It's one of the reasons I love running. The other thing that I thought was kind of funny was if I knew how bad it was going to suck and how much pain I was going to be in at the end, I probably wouldn't have done it. And I was joking with my friend that stayed the night with me the day after the race. I was like, dude, or maybe it was the same day of the race. I was like, can you imagine if that was just all a dream and we just woke up and we know we have to go do that now? Like, that would freaking suck, dude. Like, it literally didn't feel real to me. That's why I thought about it, because I'm like, dude, I can't believe that I just actually did that and how much pain I'm experiencing right now. And I'm so happy that I don't have to do that again, at least anytime soon. So, yeah, if you knew how bad it would suck, you probably wouldn't do it. But the thing is, once the gun actually went off and I was going through every single mile and the pain started to increase, the only thing that mattered was putting my foot in front of my other foot, just focusing on the next step. I couldn't get too far ahead of myself like I talked about previously, thinking about, I'm gonna hit this time. I didn't hit the time yet. I just had to get to the next mile. So when you start your goal, don't get too caught up in what's going to happen in the future. Just focus on your next step. And if you want to hit your goals, you have to have a support system. Like the people that were at the race that were passing out waters, my family that was there with signs, my friends that ran the race with me, my friends that trained with me that were running with me like throughout the entire training block, the doctor that I went and saw, the stretch assistant that I saw earlier, like all of these people, there was a massive collective effort to achieve my goal. And if I didn't have those people around me, I would not have achieved my goal. So I think it's important to realize that no big goal is ever a single player effort. It takes a lot of people to achieve something great. And don't be afraid to give other people credit. The more people you can have in your support system, the bigger of goals you can actually achieve. And the more everybody gets to celebrate. Because all of those people that helped me throughout that process were very happy and joyful when I was able to hit my goal of running the 3:30 marathon. So they're able to share in that joy as well. And my last thought was water tastes so fucking good. Like at the end of the race, like I told you, all I wanted was some water. I poured the water on my head, downed like an entire water, and I'm like, dude, water is the best thing ever. Water tastes so good, especially when you're tired. I had some electrolytes that they had at the end, and it was the worst tasting thing ever. Like, I didn't want none of that. I just wanted an ice cold water. So that is my thoughts on my PR marathon of a 3:29:28. I hope you guys kind of enjoyed the story and enjoyed the experience. If you guys are thinking about running a race yourself, I couldn't recommend it more. I think it's one of the best things that you can do because, again, it pushes you, it gets you out of your comfort zone, it makes you healthier, right? Getting out, running every single day, getting vitamin D, increasing your VO2 max, lowering your heart rate, like all of these things are so beneficial. And it's a really cool community. It's a great way to meet other people. So if you haven't signed up for a marathon, become part of the 1%, sign up for a marathon and run it. You'll probably become addicted like I have. And if you just want to run one, that's great as well. But yeah, I'm so happy that it happened. I'm so happy that it's over with. And that's the thing, at the end of the day, it's in the past. I did it, I'm super happy, but I can't relish on this goal. I'm already focused on my next goals. So again, hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.